So I was talking to my friend and she was telling me how she appreciates the way that I date because I date like men do. And because of that, I actually enjoy dating, whereas most women don't actually enjoy dating. And that's because people tell us that men and women are different, but we're actually not that different. Like, we're all human beings. Like, we might express things differently, but we're all human beings. But because we live in a patriarchal society and men and women are socialized differently, and especially when it comes to dating, well, especially when it comes to every social situation, men, especially straight men, have more power. Women feel disempowered in the dating scene. And that's why, you know, a lot of women go celibate. A lot of women don't want to date. A lot of women, because we get disempowered and we get traumatized, and like, it makes complete sense. But what I've noticed is that when you take your power back, you actually can enjoy dating, even if you're dating to marry or dating to do those things. So I'm going to share with you guys some of the things I've noticed. Obviously, a lot of the things I'm going to share will be broad general statements. It doesn't apply to everybody, but take what resonates, leave what doesn't. One of the things I realized as a woman is that my commitment is extremely valuable. The kind of man that I see myself with would soar in social power by having me by his side. If you meet the societal beauty standard, like you're considered a pretty person, a beautiful woman, that already brings like his social power like way high. But then add to that, if you're somebody who's smart, who's cunning, who's witty, who's charming, like any other characteristics that you have, his social power, like him by being with you, his social power like skyrockets. And it's very important to note your social value as a woman. I know it's gross, but it's really important to understand it, because men understand their social value. And a man with a high level of social value who knows that will never compromise what he wants. In fact, even men with low levels of social value, even if they're aware of it, won't compromise. So when you understand your social value as a woman, you guard your commitments with your life. You don't want to just be in any relationship with any man who gives you attention and a crumb of consistency. Because as we know with all these studies, men who get married, they live longer, they make more money, they do all this stuff, and then your shit just goes down, right? As women, right? So partnering up with somebody that actually makes your life better becomes the bare minimum. And compromising what you want decreases your happiness and decreases your social power. So there's actually no point. And this completely changes the way that you date, because you become extremely picky about who you even want a relationship with. Having feelings for somebody, liking somebody, having a good connection with somebody, or somebody treating you with a modicum of respect is not enough for you to commit to them. I'm gonna do a part 2 of how to date like an empowered woman. So in the last video, I talked about cherishing your exclusivity and your commitment. In this video, we're going to talk about boundaries when it comes to dating. But first, we're going to start with how men date. So men date just to date. Even if they're looking to get married either soon or eventually, they're dating just to date. And men also have a mental checklist of what they're looking for in a wife. They also know what their non-negotiables are. So as they're dating women, they're comparing those women to that mental checklist. And if you do not meet the qualifications, they will not marry you. They will date you, but they will not marry you. Because again, they value their commitment and exclusivity. This is why you find some men will stay in a relationship with a woman for decades and never marry her. He either doesn't want to get married or he doesn't want to get married to you. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you, because I mean, if they're in a relationship with you, they probably think you're a great woman. You just don't meet the requirements. On the other hand, women are taught to date to marry. We're taught to find our Prince Charming and live happily ever after. We also are taught to date up. So basically that looks like dating better than our ex. Women don't always have, some women do, but most women don't usually have a very clear idea of what they're looking for, both logically and intuitively. Or even if they do, they're not as committed to that checklist as men are. And that's the trap that we end up falling in. So date to date. Here's how I do it. First, you got to figure out what works for you. I am fine doing casual dating, situationships, friends with benefits. Like I'm very good at like not getting too attached to people. But if you're not, don't agree to those things. Like stick to your boundaries, like decide what you're available for and stick to it. So for me, if I agree to a casual relationship, there are certain things that I will not do. I will not do sleepovers with you. I will not like continue to like talk to you every single day. It's a casual relationship. We don't need to do that. There are certain things that I would do with someone that I am genuinely looking to get to know as a potential partner that I would never do with someone that I'm in a casual relationship with. Same thing for hookups. My hookups, we don't do sleepovers at all. We don't see each other like often because that minimizes the chances of attachment happening. I also always check in with myself to like see how I'm feeling and like honor my emotions and what's coming up for me. And if something changes, let's say I'm in a casual relationship and I want it to become more serious, I communicate that to that person. And if that person is not able to give me what I want, I end it immediately. Know what you want, set boundaries for yourself, date to date, and just keep it pushing.
What's going on, everybody? Safar Sadek here. The name of this lesson is Jealousy, A Louse. I want you all to look at the very top up there. Look at the word jealousy and the color coding of how it's spelled. And then look to the right of the word jealousy, a louse. Don't worry, we're going to get into it. You're going to understand when I get done with this lesson. Let's look at the definition of a louse. A small, parasitic, wingless insect. A contemptible person. One who is deceitful or causes harm. Now, the word louse is singular. In this plural form, it's lice. Oh, talking about like those little, microscopic mites like ticks. Yeah. But that's the insect that you all are familiar with. But rarely do people attribute this term to other people as being lice or louse. And in the context of this video, parasitic women, the so-called modernized, westernized American women. This doesn't apply to any other class of women except the ones that I just mentioned. Your strong and independent woman, the woman that likes to run around here and sleep with every Tom, Dick, and Harry and, living their best life and all this other stuff. These are your lice that I'm referring to. And I'm going to show you all why their jealousy has them in this parasitic type of operation. And the one thing that these parasitic women thrive on more than other women is attention. Okay? Attention. All women love attention, but this class of women, they just take attention to a whole nother level. Look at how the word attention is spelled. So when you look at how attention is spelled here, what you get is the word innate, okay, which means almost like factory default traits. All right? And so, but the louse is not satisfied with the factory default settings or traits. So what they do is they become jealous of their masculine counterparts and they go on this quest for, attention. All right? And they don't just get it from one man, they want it from as many men as possible because they're vampiric in nature. I'm going to explain, I got some charts that I'm going to use to help explain this so it'll make a lot more sense. So without further ado, let's get into the first one. All right, let's look at this chart right here. Innate traits. Let's look on the right-hand side. Masculine energy. All right, we're going to set the stage before we get into this so everybody will know how things were done at the factory. Masculine energy, projective, active, giving, expansive, outward. Okay, let's look at the natural masculine. Confidence, inner strength, responsibility, focus, logical, support, stability, direction, protection, clarity, boundaries, courage, discipline, capable, certain, assertive. All right, and let's look at wounded masculine energy. When a man becomes wounded by childhood trauma or whatever, let's look at that energy. Perpetrator, abuse of power, dominance, aggression, control, competitive, confrontational, criticism, abuse, avoidance, unsupportive, and unstable. All right, now let's look over here to the left-hand side. Feminine energy as it comes, factory default. Receptive, passive, contractive, intuitive, inward. All right, let's look at natural feminine energy. Unconditional love, understanding, nurturing, tenderness, kindness, intuitive, creative, feeling, stillness, flow, radiance, surrender, sensitivity, emotional, ease, allowing. All right, now let's look at wounded feminine energy, either by childhood trauma or whatever. Victim, powerless, weakness, manipulation, withholding, neediness, codependency, oversensitive, over emotional. All right. So now we're looking at, the factory default settings of both the man and his masculine energy and the woman and her feminine energy. So what happens is, as a result of childhood trauma, be it through molestation, neglect, some relationship with some dude that didn't turn out good at a very young age, or it could be a number of things that happen to women, and it causes all of these attributes or these innate traits that you see to get knocked out of balance. And when this happens, they go on a quest, and I do mean a tireless quest, to try to find supplements to help you either get these traits back in their proper balance, or to at least relieve the misery of these traits being out of balance. Okay? So, and when they do that, they start dealing with men, and and a lot of times this is done on a subconscious spiritual level. Most of the time they're not even aware that they're doing this stuff. All right? They really aren't, but they're doing it anyway. The damage that they cause by doing it is real just the same. Whether they were aware of what they were doing or not, the damage is real just the same. All right, let's look at the next slide, and we're going to see what they do when they go on this vampiric journey of trying to relieve themselves of the misery that they are suffering because all of these traits are out of balance. All right, first order of business, they'll go on this tireless hunt for a man. You see them on these dating sites. You see them in clubs and bars. You see them going to churches doing this, looking for men at work, where they live at, anywhere that there's a, when they go out shopping, when they're just out roaming around, they're always on a hunt for a man. And when they come in contact with one, the first thing they must do is to get this man's attention. That's why you have the term attention whores. And nowadays, and I keep telling you all this, these days, in this westernized, jacked up society that we live in, women, for the most part, the ones that are damaged and that are on this destructive quest, will say and do anything for a man's attention, especially one they done singled out. All right. Now, like I said, this has been done on a subconscious level, what's about to take place. So once they get, and what do they usually do to get this man's attention? Talking. That's the number one thing. Talking and doing certain things that will require him to invest his intention in her, dressing like a hoe, acting like a hoe, and this, here, that, and the other, or even causing trouble or problems to get this man's undivided attention as much as possible. Because that's how this connection is made, by him focusing his attention on her. See, this connection has to be made because a transfer of energy is the next phase that has to take place. All right. But first, that connection has to be made, and it's done by acquiring his attention. And see, sometimes they're highly successful at doing this, most of the times not. All right, let's zoom in on this and see what happens once this connection is made and a transfer of energy begins. All right, check this out right here. I'm trying to zoom this in so y'all can see a little better. Sorry about that. All right, look back over here to the man, to the right, to the bottom. 9 times out of 10, once the connection is made and a transfer of masculine energy begins, it always starts from this right here, from this category, the wounded masculine. So when she starts to transfer, this is the energy she's taking from the man for the most part. Perpetrator, abuse of power, dominance, aggression, control, competitive, confrontational, criticism, abuse, avoidance, unsupportive, unstable. And as she's drawing this masculine energy out of him, if you look at the picture here, you'll see his energy is starting to become depleted and hers is starting to become full. Well, if that connection is broke for any reason, that's when she's done with him. Now, all the, feminine attributes or traits that she has, she's no longer investing any of that into him. She got, or at least she thinks she has, what she wanted from him, that masculine energy. Rarely will she get any of the other masculine energy. It always starts from here, from this category right here. And I do mean it's extremely rare that she will get any other masculine traits, innate traits, other than this category right here. But for the time being, once, she gets enough, because she rarely gets full. She rarely hangs around long enough to get, that's why they become, all of a sudden, you think as the man, you think everything is going with this chick. Yeah, man, blase, this and that and the other. At first, everything is like, wow, I finally found the right one, and, we vibing and this and that and the other, and yeah. But over time, you're noticing you're more tired when you're around her. You're more drained, and you just can't seem to focus at work or whatever it is you do. And every time you come around her, it's becoming more and more of a chore than a joy. So then over the course of the relationship, you start making more and more and more excuses not to be around her. And then you start figuring it out slowly but surely. You know what, man? Seems like I'm happier now that I'm not around her than I was when I first met her, or even before I met her. So then by you excusing yourself from these downloads, she becomes pissed off and agitated. Because every time she makes a transfer, remember, it never goes all the way to the top. And it never stays within her for long, because this energy doesn't belong in her. It doesn't. And it only provides temporary, it's like a fix, like a junkie that takes a shoot of heroin. It only gives them a temporary fix, a temporary high. And it varies from woman to woman and man to man. It's not the same for everybody. It varies. Some women can, sap this energy out of a man for years and years and years and years and years. Whereas in other situations, a woman get one hit, and then after that, any attempt to get any more energy is either blocked by him not wanting to be around her no more, and just staying away from her as much as possible or whatever. So she becomes aggravated and agitated, and then these traits that she took from him, and all of a sudden he starts to see these traits and can't understand where they came from. Confrontational, abusive, unsupportive, competitive, aggression, dominance. She becomes the perpetrator. Abuse of any power that she may have, controlling. Not so much avoidance, because she really needs this connection to get these masculine traits. But these are the ones, and she starts exhibiting these masculine traits in a relationship, and he can't understand, how did this happen? Where did this... My inner circle is going crazy right now. But he doesn't understand. Was she always like this? If she was in another relationship with a man, yeah. But those traits died down because nature started resetting everything back, or at least made an attempt to reset everything back to the way it's supposed to be. And as soon as this started happening, she started feeling miserable. So then she'll go out and seek another man. The relationship is severed. The connection is broken. And then that's when I don't want to be around you no more, and sabotages the relationship so that she could get out of it and go on her next quest to find the next man. And this just happens over and over. That's why they have such high body count. In case y'all didn't know that. That's the reason why they have such high body count, because this is what's going on. There's really no love in this. This is what's going on right here that I'm showing you in your face right here. Because these women are wounded and so traumatically damaged that their lifelong quest forces them to start doing this right here. And eventually they run out of male counterparts, because now when you go on social media, you see a lot of men have started figuring this out. And so they're like, oh, no. Well, I'm not. And so the dating scene is not what it once was. Now these women are coming more bitter, more angry, more, all these masculine traits. Some of them never leave. Some of these traits stick around. And in some cases, they over-dominate the feminine traits to the point to where this is all that's left. They done been with so many men and everything. Nature just has given up. Okay, you want to keep going and doing this. We keep trying to put you back to where you're supposed to be. But you keep going and doing this with this guy, with this guy. Okay, do what you want to do. And so once that happens, the safeguards are taken away. And so the next guy they get with, they take all this wounded masculine energy, and it completely or almost completely replaces all her feminine energy. This is what we're dealing with right here, guys. And so watch this. And that's not the worst of it. As if that's not bad enough, but it's not the worst of it. Watch this. Now, each time that she makes a transfer from a man, like the parasite that she is, she starts to download her feminine energy. See, they both can't be in there at the same time. First, she takes his energy, and when she gets his energy, then she sends or transfers her feminine energy, her wounded feminine energy, to him. It's rare that he gets any of the other stuff. Extremely rare. So let's blow this up as much as we can. So after she's sapped him of his energy, wounded masculine energy, this is what she transfers into him. Victim, powerless, weakness, manipulation, withholding, neediness, codependency, oversensitivity, and over-emotional. Now maybe you can understand why you see men out here, the majority of which in this westernized society, with all these feminine traits. Maybe this will help it make sense now. And so every time she saps energy, his masculine energy from him, she transfers her wounded, negative feminine energy into him. And now you got a bunch of men running around that you can't tell if they're men or women. They start grooming themselves like women. A lot of them are so damaged and wounded because of this, that now these are your trannies you have out there. And now there's a trend out there that a lot of these women now have to take coaching from these trannies how to be feminine again. Why? Because of this transfer, these constant transfers of energy that's throwing everything out of balance. This is what's going on right here. Every time a woman interacts with a man, one of these types of women interacts with a man, she gets his attention, and then once the connection is made, it's done through sexuality. That's how this is done. Why do you think these women are so overly sexualized? And a lot of them don't even know what I'm showing you all, but this is the secret. And as soon as they engage in sex, and she saps all of his energy out through ejaculation, then she transfers this energy over to fill that void in him. It's a tit for tat transfer. Next thing you know, she's acting like him and he's acting like her. And so when this can no longer happen, like I said, the relationship breaks off and she's in a hurry to go find the next victim. That's why in these relationships, after you've been in them for any amount of time, all of a sudden you're boring now. What she's telling you is you don't have enough of this energy that I've been feeding off of to fulfill my desire and to help me cope with this misery that I deal with this chaos that I deal with on a conscious basis. So that's why they start acting out and, doing this, here, that, and the other. And they're in such a hurry to go jump on the next man. Women like this, they have high body counts. How do you know they have high body counts? Because they're always shaming men that have less than 6 inches, or shaming men that have less than 8 inches, or shaming men that have less than 12 inches. Why is that such a big deal? Because they done been ran in and out of so much, it's going to take that just to give them any semblance of satisfaction. That's why. See, this is what a lot of these so-called femininity coaches aren't telling you, and what a lot of these brothers that, supposed to be in the know aren't telling you all this stuff. So I'm going to tell you for free. You don't have to cash at me any money. I'm not concerned about the likes going up. I don't care how many people see this video. Probably no more than 10 or 15 will see it. Well, those 10 or 15 will be a lot better off than they are now. Okay? So this is what's going on. And as a consequence, this is what you have. Figuratively speaking, when these women look in the mirror, they see more of a man than they do themselves. And you know why they don't really care about that? Although, a lot of men are starting to get on them about that and everything. You know why they don't really care? Because when they take on these masculine traits, it actually helps them to be more competitive in, this world with, men. They become more competitive because they have all these masculine traits in them. And eventually, some of them are so successful that they channel this energy and start their own businesses, their own companies, their own this, making their own way. They are here getting the bag. They're able to go out here and work like a daggone dog and getting all this money and everything. And they're less and less and less interested in having kids. And that's the reason why when Roe versus Wade got overturned, that, threw a lot of their game off. Because if they did get pregnant, they could just go and do that. See, now they're going to have to come up with other methods to present themselves as not having children. Then you see them on Kendra G and other dating sites, and they'll ask the question, do you have any kids? No. What they need to start asking them is, did you ever get pregnant and having an abortion? That's what y'all need to start asking them. Keep it 100% real. But that's why when these women look in the mirror and see all these masculine traits and everything, they don't mind. Because it's giving them masculine status. in this society. All right? I don't care how matriarchal this society is, men will always be at the top because we're the ones that create pretty much everything. We're the ones that can outwork these women in every way possible. And this is always going to be a man's world. These vampires have hijacked this man's world by what I just explained to you. They hijacked it. All right? And so now this is what you all are dealing with, guys, right here. I just explained the process to you. So and a lot of you all need to, get out of the dating scene. Stop looking for wives in the dating market because there are no wife material in the dating market. This is what you got, louse or lice. Every time you come in contact with one of these women in the dating market, you're coming in contact with a louse that's jealous of you. She's jealous of your masculine status. All right? So I thought I'd put this out here, to help you out, because go back and look at the presentation that I showed you before I came old sister girl on there. She just flat out told y'all, explain to you all, when she goes out, she does it like a man. Now you know why. All right, deuces.